Hey, I'm Nick Kalikas.
Welcome to the show where you get first look at the latest odds before they hit the sportsbooks.
And I'm Miguel Iturrate.
This is the place for a unique look at MMA from a gambler's perspective.
And this is MMAOddsbreaker.
Welcome to the show. Nick Kalikas alongside Miguel Iturrate.
On today's show, we're going to get things kick-started by taking a look at UFC 152, Jon Jones versus Vitor Belfort, and a few of the matches on the main card there. We're also going to take a couple of seconds to discuss UFC 151's cancellation.
And on today's Oddsbreaker segment, I'll be joined by pro gambler Nick Vlass and also Jeremy Botter from BleacherReport.com. Both guys will help me break 4 original odds that have not hit the sportsbooks yet.
The big news in MMA, the unprecedented news, is the UFC's cancellation recently of UFC 151. Nick, let's talk about that a little bit. What are your thoughts?
Man, first thought, disappointment. I think there's a lot of stubbornness going on across the board from the UFC, from Jon Jones's camp. I think they really handled this surprisingly bad, man. I mean, Dana White was really going after Jon Jones. He was pissed that he did not accept the Sonnen fight, and he just put it out there publicly. And I think Jones's camp, they have the right to deny fights, but I think they made a mistake as well because Sonnen was a good matchup stylistically for Jon Jones. I don't see much problems with for Jones in that fight. So I think the Jones camp, even though it was short notice, they made a mistake by turning down that fight. And I think the UFC kind of handled things so bad with the way they went about everything that I'm disappointed there as well. So I feel for the fighters that were on the undercard for UFC 151, but at least they are getting fights soon and that's getting handled. But overall, just a disappointment.
You know, Jon Jones, I'm glad he wasn't forced to do this fight for money. He's got money. He banged up a Bentley in his DUI and stuff. So he's not doing this stuff for the money. He can think of other things, but he decided to play it safe here. And I think that was the wrong call, as Nick pointed out. I think he had an opportunity to come out of this as an MMA superhero by taking a fight on short notice, raise his stock. And the bottom line is one of the things that Dana said in his ranting and raving is that Jon is not one of their popular champions and a big draw yet. And this would have really helped him out.
Yeah, it's just a shame, like I said, to see what went down. But UFC 152 did benefit from this. The Canadian fans now have basically a co-feature with Jon Jones taking on Belfort and then Demetrius Johnson taking on Joe Benavidez for the flyweight title. So let's talk about the odds right now from BetDSI. We do have a few of the numbers there. Let's get into Jon Jones versus Vitor Belfort. I'm kind of laughing because look at the price, man. Right now at DSI, you're seeing minus 905 for Jon Jones. Comeback on Vitor Belfort is at plus 605. Give me your quick thoughts about that line and that fight.
I mean, the line's right on. Jon Jones has been a dominant champion, and I think he was big against Henderson. He'd be big against Sonnen. So he was going to be heavily favored no matter what. Belfort has got a 3-minute window here to break through, and if his career is any indication of how this fight can go. Belfort may be in those first 3 minutes more dangerous than Henderson or Sonnen would ever be to Jon Jones. So it could be interesting there, but this should be Jon Jones all the way.
Yeah, I mean, the betting public out there, you're seeing the line this high because they know that Belfort has been put on his back by decent wrestlers before. Jon Jones should be able to get the fight to the floor and just dictate where the fight goes, have his way with Vitor. Now, Vitor does have that puncher's chance. I actually favor him in the striking department, but that reach of Jon Jones, even on the feet, is going to cause problems we've seen before for everybody. So Jon Jones is definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with. And I think the line's about right with parlays and everything else. We might see some movement up and down, but you'll see the line probably stay up ridiculously high. Let's move on to the flyweight title, man. Mighty Mouse versus Benavidez. I think it's going to be an outstanding scrap, very competitive fight. 5 rounds. This is the marquee fight of the card.
This was the main event. Now it's a co-main event, like you mentioned. UFC was a little disappointed with their Calgary event recently, and this is a little bit of giving back to the Canada fans. This is a great card now. That's the one upside to the cancellation of the other show. This fight here with Benavidez and Johnson, I'm excited to see. I love the little guys. Both guys have completely different styles, you know, with Demetrius being very complete and Benavidez being the Uriah Faber wrestler style. And I think he's properly favored in the fight. I think he's going to control it.
Well, right now the line for Benavidez is coming in at -275, so he's a decent favorite over Demetrius Johnson. Both the guys are extremely well-rounded, but you're right, the power and the edge overall, maybe that wrestling is why Benavidez is coming in as almost a 3-to-1 favorite. He should have the advantage in this fight, but man, Demetrius Johnson has a lot of heart. He's got a lot of skill, so I think the line's a little bit too high, even though I do expect Joseph Benavidez to probably come away with a win here. But let's move on to the next fight, too. We have another honorable mention we should say between Michael Bisping and Brian Stann, man. Another great fight that's on this card. And right now you're seeing Bisping at -180. This is a fight that we did break on this show. He opened a little bit higher, closer to 2-to-1. So the betting public is supporting Brian Stann at this point. Give me your quick thoughts.
I like the fight. I like Bisping in this fight. I'm a Bisping fan. I think he's a winner. I think he's only not broken through against a very, very top echelon of guys, such as Dan Henderson and so to speak. I don't think Stan is at that level quite just yet, and I think that Bisping will find a way to use his craftiness. He's a crafty fighter. He fights. He can tailor his style to a couple of different styles that are coming at him, and I like what he does in the ring. And like I said, I think he's a winner, and I think he wins this one.
It is hard to bet this fight because at -180, laying the juice against a puncher like Brian Stann, because I'm expecting this fight to play out on the feet for the most part, you know. But Bisping does have the overall advantage. I mean, he can take it to the floor if he wants to. Believe it or not, we're saying a UK guy has great wrestling, and Bisping, surprisingly, even though he doesn't use it a lot, has solid wrestling. We've seen it improve over and over again. So I think that the advantages are there for Michael Bisping, but the smart money or the betting public in general coming in on the plus money with Brian Stann's knockout power, I can understand that. So for me, it's a pass type of fight right now. If the line gets too low, I'm going to hop all over Bisping because I do see advantages, like I said, in that fight. So it's kind of a stay away from fight. I am going to pick Michael Bisping in the fight to win, but should be another competitive fight. And like I said, UFC 152, for the fans, it should be a great card. Okay, time to get started on today's Odds Breaker segment. Let me introduce our first guest. He's a professional gambler, Nick Vlass. Nick, welcome back to the show.
Glad to be back.
Also joining us today is one of the lead writers from a popular MMA site, Bleacher Report, Jeremy Botter. Jeremy, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me back, Nick.
Okay, both of you guys have been on the show before, so you know how it works, but those that do not out there, let me quickly explain. BetDSI has donated a 5K bankroll. Well, today it's actually going to be 7K. There are some steep lines we're going to get ready to break here in a few minutes. Now, the guys get to pick between 4 fights that I'm opening odds on. They get to bet $500 either on the favorite or the underdog. We're going to get started today on our first fight. It comes to us from Strikeforce, actually, which is going to take place September 29th. It's the lightweight title at stake, and we're going to get going first with Nick Vlass here. Nick, I'm going to open up the championship title bout for Strikeforce's lightweight title. Gilbert Melendez -900. The comeback on Pat Healy is going to be +600. A very steep line. Give me your take and give me your bet.
Yeah, it's hard to make a case for Healy here. He's got 16 losses on his resume. In his last fight against Mizoto Hirota, an undersized Japanese wrestler, he got out-wrestled. A lot of people thought he lost the fight, and he got a hometown decision because the fight was in Portland, and he's from Portland. So, I mean, he has no business fighting Gilbert here. It's just a question of the Strikeforce roster being so thin. So I'm all over Melendez here, even at the steep price.
Okay, so no hesitation at all at -900 odds. Nick Vlass is going to take Gilbert Melendez. It's going to be $4,500 to win $500. Let's throw it over to Jeremy Botter. Jeremy, do you agree with Nick?
I actually do, man. This line is very high, but to be honest, it could actually go a lot higher, and I would still take Melendez all day. You know, Nick said a lot of truth there. The only reason Pat Healy's even in this title shot, even in this title picture, is because there's just nobody left in Strikeforce. They're biding their time. They're trying to make Gilbert Melendez look good. I mean, I firmly believe that they are giving Melendez what should be a very easy win here to make him look good and build him up for next year when he will probably jump to the UFC once this Showtime deal ends. I'm going to go Melendez here, and, you know, as I said, even if it goes higher, I still take him.
Okay, so Jeremy Botter also agrees it's going to be $4,500 to win $500 on Gilbert Melendez. So both of our experts for the first fight agree that Gilbert should roll over Pat Healy in Strikeforce. Okay, moving on to the second fight from today's Odds Breaker segment. It's a battle from UFC 153, a very popular card. I think the pay-per-view part of it is stacked. And this is from the pay-per-view card. It's Demian Maia versus Rick Story at welterweight. basically a pick'em fight. We're going to start off with Jeremy Botter first on this one. Jeremy, it should be a competitive fight, could go either way. I'm going to open up Demian Maia, the very slight favorite, minus 125. The comeback on Rick Story is going to be minus 105. Give me your thoughts and give me your bet.
I like this line a lot, and mostly because I like Demian Maia a lot at welterweight. I've been pretty impressed with what I've seen so far. And I also like the fact that he's abandoned his grand plan to be a striker. He's going back to his roots. He's going takedown. He's going submission. We haven't seen it a lot yet, but he's been very vocal about that's his game plan here now at welterweight. And I think that's the right game plan, and I think that is going to take him far, and I certainly think it takes him over Rick Story, who I do not believe has the kind of submission defense that can, help protect him against Demian Maia if Demian is actively looking for a submission, and that's why I like Maia here.
Okay, so Jeremy is going to go with the slight favorite, Demian Maia, minus 125. It's going to be $625 to win $500. Let's throw it over to Nick Vlass. Nick, do you agree with him on this one?
All right, I disagree with Demian Maia here being the likely winner. I like Rick's story in here. I think he's an elite wrestler. I don't think Maia takes him down. And I think Rick's story will keep this fight standing and get a decision or possibly KO Maia. I have problems with Maia's drop to welterweight. He's 34 years old, and he got a fluke win against Don Yam Kim when Don Young Kim landed awkwardly. So the jury's still out if he's going to be good at welterweight.
Okay, so Nick Vlass is going to go with a slight underdog here. It's going to be Rick Story minus 105, so it's going to be $525 to win $500. Now, very competitive fight. Like I said, in my eyes, it could go either way. That's why we're seeing such a close line. Both of our experts do split on this fight, so tread cautiously here at UFC 153. Okay, switching gears a little bit for our third fight on today's Oddsbreaker segment. From Bellator 79, it's the Bantamweight title fight between Eduardo Dantas and Marcos Galvao. Now, guys, I know Dantas coming off a knockout loss, a very surprising knockout loss in the hands of Tyson Nam, but he is going to be fighting for the Bellator title, defending it here at Bellator 79. We're going to start off with Nick Vlass first. I'm still going to open Dantas a decent favorite in what should be a competitive fight, but he's going to come in at minus 240. The comeback on Galvao is going to be plus 180. So, Nick, give me your take and give me your bet.
Well, I like Eduardo Dantas here. It's an interesting fight. They're both from the same Nova Union camp, so they know each other. I'm sure they've sparred against each other, but Dantas is just too multifaceted. I know he lost in his last. It was a fluke counter punch where he got caught. Hopefully he'll be a little bit more careful and learn his lesson, and he should dominate Galvao here, who's just a wild puncher and has good jiu-jitsu, and that's all to his game.
Okay, so Nick Vlass is going to go with the juice here. It's going to be $1,200 to win $500 on Dantas over Galvao. Let's throw it over to Jeremy Botter. Jeremy, what are your thoughts on this fight?
I agree with Nick. I think that Dantas is just far too well-rounded for a guy like Galvao, who is really just a one-trick pony when it comes to his jiu-jitsu game. The rest of his game is pretty much all set up to get to that jiu-jitsu game. The fact is the rest of his game is not all that great. Dantas, if he goes in there and fights smart, which we didn't see him do against Tyson Nam, he should be able to go in and get an easy win.
Okay, so Jeremy Botter is going to agree with Nick on this one. It's going to be $1,200 to win $500 on Dantas over Galvao. Now, like I said, I think it should be a very competitive fight. Both guys do know each other well. So even though both guys are experts are taking the favor here, tread cautiously. It's going to be Bellator 79 Bantamweight title. Okay, bonus time on today's Oddsbreaker segment comes to us from UFC 155, a lightweight scrap with maybe not immediate title implications on the line, but a win will definitely help out the cause here. It's a battle between Joe Lauzon and Gray Maynard. Now, I'm going to open up Maynard, the slight favorite, minus 275, actually a decent favorite, minus 275. The comeback is going to be plus 205 on Lauzon. Let's throw it over to Jeremy first. Jeremy, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, I think this is an interesting fight, but it's not interesting enough for me to go with Joe Lauzon. Joe, as we all know, is kind of a one-trick pony. His striking is fine, but he's constantly looking for a takedown. He's constantly looking to put himself in position to where he can go for submissions. He's been quite successful at that against some guys, but Gray Maynard is not some guys. Gray is far stronger, has far better takedown defense than Joe Lauzon could ever possibly hope. I don't think there's any way he can hope to get him to the ground. I like Gray to keep this fight standing. I like him to probably keep it standing and finish Joe late in the first, early in the second round. It's going to be a short night for Joe Lauzon.
Okay, so Jeremy Botter, very confident in his pick at Maynard. It's going to be minus 275, $1,375 to win $500. Let's throw it over to Nick Vlass. You agree with him, Nick?
I definitely agree. The problem I have with Joe Lauzon is his cardio. And secondly, every time he stepped up in class, he's got destroyed. He got destroyed by Anthony Pettis, George Sauterlopoulos, Sam Stout, and Kenny Florian. He's just the middle of the road journeyman, and he's out of his league here with Gray Maynard. Gray Maynard's solid. As long as he can keep this fight standing, he'll either knock him out or get a decision.
Okay, so Nick Vlass also agrees with Jeremy. The play is Gray Maynard here at $13.75 to win $500. So both of our experts do agree Gray should roll at UFC 155 over Joe Lauzon. All right, guys, fantastic job on today's Oddsbreaker segment. Before we go, I do want to give you guys a chance to say a few words. Let's start off with Nick Vlass first. Nick, anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, it was a pleasure doing the show. If you ever have a fight question or want to ask something, you can always get a hold of me through Twitter at Nick_Vlass. That's VLASS. It was nice doing the show again.
Okay, thank you, Nick. And let's throw it over to Jeremy. Anything you'd like to say before we let you go, Jeremy?
Yeah, thanks for having me back, man. I always love doing the show with you. You guys can follow me at Jeremy Botter on Twitter and also read my stuff on BleacherReport.com.
All right, fantastic stuff, and we'll see you guys both soon.
Another great Oddsbreaker segment. Nick Vlass and Jeremy Botter, a lot of great information, giving us their picks on 4 fights that Nick's breaking the odds for us right here. Now it's time to adjust those odds. Nick's going to explain to us the process.
Now, just like when a line first hits a sports book, you do see some movement coming in when a max bet or two does hit the book. So we're going to take that same principle, same philosophy, and adjust some of the lines that the guys have bet. Starting off with the first fight, it was odds adjustment 1, Pat Healy versus Gilbert Melendez. Now, believe it or not, minus 900 and the guys bet it. So I'm going to have to move the line up a little bit higher. I do think the betting public's going to go crazy and parlay Melendez with everything, with NFL, with college, with whatever they can get their hands on. Melendez is going to be in a parlay. So the line is going to actually hit the books at minus 950 now instead. The comeback is going to be plus 650 on Pat Healy. And we'll see if the betting public bites on that a little bit. Give me your thoughts, Miguel.
At the end of the day, the payout comes because your guy won. And Gilbert Melendez is probably 90-95% chance of winning this fight. Pat Healy's a tough guy. I think he's in a fight that's going to highly motivate him. I think he's a guy who's been a bit nomadic. He's never had a home show, somewhere to take care of him. I think he's got to be looking at this as his opportunity. I think he's got to be hungry for this fight. However, I think he's just going to fall short in some of the skill packages and maybe some of the athleticism when he faces a guy like Melendez. And I think the line's right on. I think at the end of the day, it is going to be Gilbert that raises his hand no matter what the money is.
Yeah, even with the steep odds, both Nick and Jeremy did not hesitate at all. So we're going to see, like I said, the odds climb up a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes over 10 to 1 when it does close. So we'll see how it goes. But let's go on to the second fight from UFC 153. Man, a really stacked card in Brazil they got going on. This is Demian Maia versus Rick Story. Now, the guys did split on this here. Demian Maia, Jeremy Botter came in and took the slight favorite price, minus 125. It's a pick'em fight. I mean, and I truly believe it is kind of a pick'em fight. So Botter comes in that way, minus 125 on Maia. But Nick Vlass, the professional gambler, comes in the other way and takes the minus 105 on Rick Story. Give me your quick thoughts.
I agree with Nick Vlass on this one. I think the book is still out on Demian Maia at this weight class. We found out nothing about him in the last fight where there was a fluky ending. And he's an older guy cutting down a lot of weight to a weight class that he really hasn't competed at. I believe his jiu-jitsu in Abu Dhabi weight classes was 184 as well. So the book's still out, and I'm going to have to wait to see. He looked good. He looked good what I saw. He looked good at the weigh-ins in terms of didn't look tired or drained or anything like that. But the point is, you know, how does that translate to being in the third round of a fight? And Story's probably going to take him there. Story is a tough guy, and I'm looking to see that. But I am going to stay away from this fight because the book's still out on Maia, who's very talented, but he's going to have to prove himself all over again.
Well, again, since both guys split, I'm not going to adjust the price. It is going to hit the books at minus 125 for Demian Maia over Rick Story. Again, I do firmly believe it is a pick'em fight with a slight edge towards Demian Maia because I think that's the way the betting public in general is going to feel as well. So line is going to hit the books at minus 125 for Demian Maia. Let's move on to the third fight, Bellator. So we're switching up gears here. Bellator 79. And one of the reasons I did bring this fight onto the show today was because of Dantas recently getting knocked out. There's a lot of buzz out there. Shocking that Tyson Nam was able to get the job done. Not that Tyson Nam is not a great fighter. He's a solid fighter, Team Quest trained, so definitely capable. It wasn't an easy fight that Dantas took, but Dantas coming away with the knockout loss. He is the Bellator champion. He's defending his belt at Bellator 79, as we mentioned, and he is coming in at 2.5 to 1. Give me your quick thoughts.
I think it's, you know, kudos to Bellator for allowing their guys to go off to other organizations and fight. They realize that they don't have the fights to keep the guys busy and to keep them developing. And, you know, people are going to compete, people are going to win, people are going to lose. And Dantas is coming off a loss. I think he goes into this fight as the Bellator champion, and he's properly favored. He's a better fighter than Galvao. But I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. Bellator is trying to manage their roster as best possible. Bottom line is it offers Bellator an opportunity to, in negotiations with Dantas, to, you know, maybe save themselves some money, and it becomes an issue for them. You know, it is a business after all. I don't think it's a bad thing that they let it happen.
Well, both guys did come in and take the favorite here in Dantas, so I'm going to raise the price. It's going to be minus 260 when he hits DSI, and the comeback on Galvao is going to be plus 200, so just a little bit of an increase here. I do expect a competitive fight. I mean, both guys mentioned that they do train together, so they know each other very well. I do favor Eduardo Dantas. I think he's just better overall. He's the more complete fighter. He's better standing on the feet. I think even though Galvao is known to be a BJJ expert, he is a BJJ whiz. As far as MMA goes, you don't see those subs on his record. So I think Dantas has a better sub game in MMA as well. I don't think the fans are going to be knocking him too much coming off this loss. So I probably think the line is going to increase a little bit. We might see it hit upwards towards 3-1 when it's all said and done. But I do expect a competitive fight. I don't know if I could lay the juice, man, because Galvao has looked excellent. I mean, the guy's fought with a lot of heart. He just did upset Nogueira coming up this recent season for the championship here, the tournament. So he's looked great. He deserves it. He's been, if you look at his resume, this is another thing, man. Galvao has a lot of fights on his resume that should be wins. I mean, he's been screwed by decision quite a few times, let's say it like it is. So he does have a few losses on his record, but those fights could have went the other way easily. So bottom line, I am expecting a competitive fight with Dantas probably coming away with a win here. Okay, let's move on to the last fight, the bonus fight here. UFC 155 lightweight scrap. You know the lightweights always bring it. Joe Lauzon versus Gray Maynard. Now, both guys didn't hesitate. They know that Joe Lauzon is a talented fighter, but they both picked Gray in this fight. So I am going to adjust the line from minus 275. It's going to go minus 295. So basically 3-1. Give me your quick thoughts.
I agree with the line. I think Maynard should be favored in the fight. I think I do want to see Maynard come back. He hasn't fought in a little bit of time. He's a bit of he's been traveling around grabbing technique and changing his style around a little bit. I want to see how he's improved. Lauzon is a great fighter. I always enjoy watching him fight, even from when he was on the junior circuit, so to speak. And he's capable of finishing anybody. Maynard is a lot stronger, bigger. I favor him in the stand-up. Once you hit the ground, Lauzon's talent should negate some of Maynard's power. And then you have a factor where, like, the bottom line is Melvin Guillard is also a lot stronger than Joe Lauzon, and Lauzon made short work of him. He's capable of doing that. So possibly, if you're looking for an underdog to bet, Lauzon might be a good bet.
It's a tough one, though. I mean, he is coming off that controversial win. I'm talking about Gray over Clay Guida. I think that Lauzon presents a bigger problem, actually. I know the wrestling's not going to be there as far as him getting the takedown, so Gray should be able to dictate where this fight goes. I would keep it up, though. I mean, I would try my chances because I think Joe's submission game is probably underrated by most. I think he's that good on the ground. His cardio is at issue, and I know that Vlass and Jeremy both made a lot of great comments why we should pick Gray over Joe in this fight, and I agree with them. I do suspect that Gray's going to come out on top here. That's why you're seeing the line closer to 3-1, but it is a tough one to bet, man. Regardless, the 3-1 over top quality lightweights, even though Gray is on the upper tier, maybe a level above Joe, is still hard to lay that kind of price. So it is going to hit the sports books a little bit higher, but not too ridiculous.
Well, that's it for another episode of MMA Odds Breakers. You can look for the odds that Nick broke right here on the show to start popping up at the sport books throughout the coming week. Also, a big thanks to our two guests, Nick Vlass and Jeremy Botter, both giving us incredible information as always. Thanks, guys.
And make sure you check out our website, MMAOddsbreaker.com, and also follow us on Twitter at MMAOddsbreaker. For Miguel Iturrate, I'm Nick Kalikas saying until next time, enjoy the fights.